G'day reefers, I'm Ken the Fish Guy. Welcome to Gallery Aquatica TV. Today's fish feature is on the blue spot rabbitfish. This beautiful fish is certainly a fish you should consider for your reef aquarium, but today we're going to tell you the pros and the cons, and we're going to tell you everything you need to know about keeping the blue spot rabbitfish. The blue spot rabbitfish, or Siganus, corallinus, is an excellent addition to many reef tanks. Now we're going to talk about the diet, the type of tank you want, and the compatibility of these fish, but let's just talk about the group or the genus Siganus. It's the rabbitfish, and they're generally herbivores. They get to around about 30 centimeters in length, so around about a foot. So they're relatively large. They're quite a timid fish, and you'll see that when you approach a tank, often the rabbitfish will hide. We're going to talk specifically about the blue spot rabbitfish, but some of the others in the genus of Siganus are actually very, very similar. So what we tell you about the blue spot rabbitfish will actually apply to some of the others, such as the barred rabbitfish and a couple of other species that we'll talk about in a minute. But first, let's talk about the diet of the blue spot rabbitfish. So we'll try and get a few shots of this rabbitfish whilst I'm standing in front of the tank, but you can see I'm standing quite still so I don't spook it. When rabbitfish are spooked, they'll often change colour. They can go quite dark and blotchy, and you'll often see this at night time too if you turn the lights on. Their ability to colour change is quite incredible. But let's talk about the diet of the rabbitfish, the blue spot rabbitfish, and really the short answer to their diet is that they are herbivores. And this is one of the reasons why they're so popular in aquariums, is because they're an excellent herbivore. They're very good at eating problem algae, and in particular, bubble algae is one of the big things that they will eat and can really improve your tank. But in terms of what types of food you should offer the blue spot rabbitfish and others in that genus, we offer a variety of vegetable-based foods. Now we've actually put in, and they've almost finished it now, a Vitalis marine grazer. Now this is a vegetable-based food that you stick on a little suction cup, and it allows the fish to graze on them over a period of time. The angel in here, as well as the rabbitfish, kind of demolish this one quite quickly, but it's a great food to offer for grazing herbivores. So that's one food we give them. We also give the Ocean Nutrition Formula 2 pellets. Now this is the vegetable version of the Ocean Nutrition marine pellet, and it's great for herbivores like the rabbitfish. We also give Juliet Sprung's sea veggies. There's a few different varieties that are excellent. We put them on a little clip. And also we have the Formula 2 Ocean Nutrition frozen food. So we're effectively offering a variety of vegetable-based foods. You don't have to be this comprehensive with your range. However, you definitely want to add something which has vegetable matter. But the blue spot rabbitfish will definitely take the other foods that you would typically feed your reef tank, like brine shrimp, mysis shrimp, krill, things like that. But you do want to add some vegetable-based foods for the rabbitfish diet. Now I mentioned before that there's other species in the genus Siganus which are similar to the blue spot rabbitfish. Now they're similar in their disposition, they're similar looking, they're similar in the diet, in a lot of ways they're very similar. And the barred rabbitfish, which we have up here, is a good example of that. And we'll use this example to talk about the type of tank and the space that you need to give to your rabbitfish. They do grow large, 30 centimeters or about a foot. They don't normally get quite that big in most tanks that we see, but you still do need to give them a fair bit of space. And so I would generally recommend that you keep them in a tank which is at least 500 or 600 litres, so maybe 150 gallons or more. If you have them in smaller tanks, then you will generally find that you need to rehome them at some point. Some people do use baby rabbitfish specifically in frag tanks because they're so good at eating bubble algae, and a baby rabbitfish in a frag tank will probably be okay for a year or two, but at some point you will want to move it on. This tank is 1,000 litres, and so our barred rabbitfish, oh here he is, certainly has got a lot of space and is enjoying it up here with our epileptic shark. So now we're going to talk about compatibility of the rabbitfish, and this is one of the biggest questions we get asked and one of the most important considerations when choosing a rabbitfish for your tank. Compatibility of rabbitfish with corals is definitely a consideration, and it's probably the question we get asked the most about rabbitfish, because you do get the occasional one which will nip at corals. Now, in my experience, it's a bit of a rare thing, and we use rabbitfish in most of our coral holding tanks to eat algae, and as I mentioned before, particularly bubble algae. Baby rabbitfish are excellent for that purpose, but even as they get bigger, I normally find they're pretty good with the corals, but it is the bigger ones that people do sometimes complain about nipping at LPS and in particular nipping at zoas. But as with any fish, the key is keep an eye on them. If they do develop a bit of a habit nipping at your corals, you may have to make a decision as to which you like more, the rabbitfish or the corals that they're nipping on. But I do find that rabbitfish are totally fine in probably 95% of reef tanks. Now, compatibility with fish is the next thing that we're going to talk about. So I've come over to this tank up here because we have a group of the gold spot rabbitfish, and you can see at the back there, they're relatively small. Here they come. And the gold spots are probably the most timid of the genus Siganus. They are quite a beautiful fish, but I do find that they generally will show their stress colours more than their happy colours. But they're a good example of the compatibility of the genus Siganus with the bulk of the fish that we keep in a reef tank. And one of the reasons why they are particularly good in a reef community is because they have a very particular defensive strategy, and that is that they have dorsal, so they have venomous dorsal spines. And so what that means is they actually use their top spines in a way to ward off aggressive fish. They put their head down, their spines up, and any fish that continues to hassle them will get spined, and it is a very painful sting, which is something you need to consider when you're handling the rabbitfish. You don't want to use your bare hands. You don't ever touch them, because if their dorsal spines get you, it is incredibly painful. I don't think that there's any reports of it ever being a fatal thing. It's typically just a very painful event. So be very careful when handling the rabbitfish, but it does mean that they're a nice compatible fish in the vast majority of reef tanks, and it's extremely rare that they're ever aggressive towards other fish. So certainly they're a very easy fish compatibility wise in your reef tank. We'll come back to our display tank to talk about the difficulty rating of the blue spot rabbitfish and rabbitfish in general. And come back here because I do think that this is one of the most beautiful fish in the shop, and I hope he comes out for another lap around so you can have a look at him. However, the difficulty rating system that we use is a rating between 1 and 10, 1 being the easiest, 10 being the most difficult fish to keep in your reef tank. And I'm going to give the blue spot rabbitfish and others in the genus a difficulty rating of 3. Now, the reason why they get a difficulty rating of 3 is they are an easy fish to keep. They're easy compatibility wise. They'll go in the vast majority of tanks. Probably the reason why they're not lower, not an easier fish, is because they do get relatively large. They're also quite prone to disease. You need to be very careful with your quarantine procedures when adding rabbitfish into your tank. And you do get the occasional one that doesn't put on weight well, because it's typically because they're not given enough vegetable matter in their diet. But overall, they're an easy fish and a fish that I would typically recommend for most reef aquariums. So that's our video on the blue spot rabbitfish. Hopefully you've learned a little something and have got more information about whether or not this fish is right for your reef aquarium. They're definitely a fish that I love, and that's why we have them in the display tank at our Wynnum store. But that's it for today's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cameron the Fish Guy. Happy reefing! That's it for this week's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Don't forget to like and comment on all our videos and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned to Gallery Aquatica TV for more exciting episodes to come. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing!